Angie, thank you. Back here in North Carolina, the Forward Party announcing a big addition to its ranks. Democratic Congressman Don Davis aligning with the party, not changing his party, but lining up his work and policy with Forward. I talked to North Carolina Forward Party Vice Chair Patrick Newton about the addition. Here's our conversation. First of all, welcome back. Good to see you.
Oh, thanks so much, Tim. Glad to be here.
Let's start first before we get into it. Just remind people of the party and what your goals are, what you hope to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's the North Carolina Forward Party, which I'm the state chair of, but we're part of the national team. Andrew Yang and Christy Todd Whitman started this whole thing. And it's really about people coming together to represent that moderate middle. We feel like most of the people of North Carolina and the country are unaffiliated, so they've chosen to not be Democrats or Republicans, and they're really politically homeless. They're looking for representation for that common sense, common ground middle. So that's the space that we're trying to fill.
And you do have some local candidates on this year, and then eventually try to do other things at some other point, right?
Absolutely, yep. So,
all right, so what are we here today to announce?
So today we have about a dozen what we call forward aligned candidates that are running across the state. But today I wanted to come in and announce that Don Davis, who's the congressman of District 1 in North Carolina, has signed our pledge. As you know, we don't have ballot access yet in North Carolina, so he will be on the ballot as a Democrat, but we'll be referring to him as a forward Democrat and really distinguishing him as someone who I know you know, but for your listeners, has really have a track record of being proven to be bipartisan and really representing those things that we just talked about. So we couldn't be happier to be supporting Don Davis in his race.
Is he the type of candidate that you would like to see as on the ballot as a forward-party candidate in the future?
Absolutely. I think Don Davis is a great example of the type of leaders that we're looking to be aligned with and affiliate with and build. This is a sprint here in the next 50 some odd days. But we're in it for the long haul. This is something that America needs. People have been telling us over and over they need better choices. So we hope Don and many others are part of this movement in North Carolina for many years to come.
What are sort of the criteria that it takes to be one of these pledge candidates and what you're hoping in one of those candidates?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, your listeners can go to our website, northcarolinaforwardparty.com, and they can print out the pledge or take a look at it online. And it talks about what those expectations are. But I think what is really exciting is you're going to see some language in there of things like respect and dignity, things that have really been lost, as we've seen in American politics. So it's being open to hearing solutions from any direction. Right now, both parties are so dug in that it's, if an idea comes from the other side of the aisle, it's rejected simply because it's from the other side of the aisle. So, as I said, in Congress in Washington, D.C., Don has been a shining example of not doing that, but he is the exception. And we're really trying to build this party with people like Don and others that it can represent that moderate middle and are open to solutions regardless of ideology and putting the people first in their district or their constituents over the concerns of the party. Being instructed by the party, hey, we're going to vote this way, is unfortunately how many of our politicians live their lives. But what we're looking for is people brave enough to say, hey, I'm going to do what's right for my constituents and my district.
So when we're talking about those criteria, it's more about ideas and philosophy more than it is about specific issues that they're signing on to.
Yep. So when it comes to policy, we have what we call the forward formula, and we kind of set guardrails, if you will. We do reject the extremes. Take any issue, whether it be healthcare, abortion, gun control, all the kitchen table issues, if you will. You've heard them, all your listeners have heard them. There's a lot of policies being pushed that are really, coming from the extreme left or the extreme right. They tend to have most of the power, most of the money, most of the voice. But we truly believe from our research, they do not represent most of the people. So if we can kind of set those guardrails for our candidates, and then they can determine, hey, within that range, what are reasonable solutions that my constituents are going to be supportive of? We recognize that across the country and even across the state, there might be certain solutions that lean a little farther to the left or a little further to the right. Say my fellow Fordists in California or New York certainly might be a little left of center compared to myself here in North Carolina and other places. But that's okay, as long as it's, again, within those guardrails and it's respectful, and what's driving it is to come up with solutions for the people.
This is obviously, I would assume, your most high-profile sort of signing on to the pledge. What is it like trying to get these candidates kind of involved in science, especially someone that is with the Democratic Party and is on the ballot for Congress?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as I mentioned to you before we came on air, we have candidates running for county positions, local positions, state house, state senate. But yes, Congressman Davis is by far our most recognizable candidate, and he is also the first seated elected official in North Carolina to sign our pledge. So we're very proud of that. Also, in terms of historical markings, he is now the first member of U.S. Congress to sign the Forward Party pledge. So we're quite proud of that as well. But it really creates a lane for others to follow, to say, hey, it's okay to certainly, as I said, still be in their camp, if you will, as Republicans or Democrats. We do have a two-party system that dominates everything we do. But how can we start to break that down? How can we find some solutions and ideas and give people that are brave enough, like Congressman Davis, an opportunity to separate themselves and say, you know what, I'm not 100% beholden to any particular party. I'm here to truly represent the people.
What do you think this means long term? Because I obviously I don't think you're naive in this partisan era where you're not going to get on the ballot and win president next year or whatever. This is sort of foundation for the future, right?
Correct.
We're kind of in an era where this partisan is going to stick around for at least a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I appreciate you bringing that up. This is a long haul. As I mentioned, we're in a sprint right now until November.
Yeah.
But the leaders of our party and other community leaders recognize that this is something that's going to take some time. I certainly envision, you know, us having great accomplishments in the next few months and years. But when I look at sort of bigger picture, I think 2028, 2032 are more realistic to have an impact on, you know, for example, presidential races and other things that people will be watching for. But as you know, politics begins locally, right? So I always, when I'm speaking to groups, I'll ask people as kind of a show of hands, not to embarrass anyone, but how many people can name their state senator and their state house rep in the General Assembly? And sadly, most people can't. Everyone knows who Kamala Harris is, everyone knows who Donald Trump is, and that's great. But the people really making decisions to impact our lives here in North Carolina, the policies that are going to dictate how our kids are educated, how these billions of dollars are being spent, are in the General Assembly. And sadly, most of our voters, most of our citizens don't even know the names of the people that are representing them. So that's one of really the fundamental things that we're looking to change. Educate the voters and get them more engaged.
Okay. We'll see what happens moving forward. Good to see you again. Thanks for popping by.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.